Hello, boxing fans. This is Anthony with Bleacher Bums Gaming, and tonight, by request, we're just going to do a real brief, updated tutorial of Glory Days Boxing. I know in the last few fights I've put up, I basically just play them at normal game speed, so I wanted to kind of slow down and play, go step by step with through the game, so that people can get a better idea of how the game flows and how it's played. And before we do that, finally picked up the last of the cards and also the charts from the printers today. So wanted to show the difference there. This was a prototype chart that I was using for play testing. And you can see here, it's on 110 stock and rather flimsy, etc. So I got the updated charts printed on 130 cardstock, and also you can see, first of all, a better finish. The finish really pops here. I kind of did this in an old newsprint formula, and definitely a lot sturdier, 130-pound cardstock. So you can kind of see the difference between the two charts basically. So yeah, I really like the way they got the old newsprint look to pop on the chart that's going to ship with the game. So much better, and again, a lot sturdier. And that's this chart you see underneath here. So for our tutorial tonight, we're just going to take a look at Joe Frazier and Ken Norton, one of the super fights that never took place and would have been a huge attraction had it. So before we get started, first of all, how to compare fighters and get an idea of how each fighter is. The game chart itself will rate the fighters for you. It will give them basically a word rating that starts from great, goes all the way down to bum, 12 different, categories or ratings of fighters. So one quick way to tell immediately who is a better fighter in terms of overall skill is the number of ring general stars. So this first column here on the fighter card, this is their ring general column. And this is going to dictate who has control, or whether the fighter will have an offensive action, a defensive action, or whether they'll go toe-to-toe. So a real quick way to tell who is the better rated fighter is to add up the number of stars in this ring general column here. So you can see Frazier has a grand total of 246 and 10 stars, which basically is as good as it gets. Frazier is rated amongst his rating is elite. He's rated amongst the best heavyweights of all time. And the fighters in that echelon will actually be the only fighters in the game that get a third star in one of their control categories. So Ken Norton, he's a step below that. He has a total of 8 stars, which is still a top-level fighter. A good fighter would be his word rating in the game, but not quite at the elite level. So that's the first thing you want to look at when you're trying to determine which fighter is considered the higher rated or more skilled fighter, the ring general stars. And then, of course, the other columns, you can do direct comparisons. Frazier, the highest power rating available in the game to any fighter is a 7. That's reserved for the top bangers like Rocky Marciano, Sonny Liston, etc. So they would have 7. Joe Frazier's right there. He is a 6. The second number after the slash indicates the propensity to score a knockdown when his opponent is hurt. And this is basically taken into effect, or the fighter's killer instinct. So with a opponent hurt rating of 10 in the power category, Joe Frazier has exceptional killer instinct. You can see Kenny Norton's ratings. 5 is certainly nothing to be sneezed at, good power. Doesn't have quite the killer instinct that Frazier has. His power rating when his opponent is hurt is 7. And then you'll move across to the right of the card, and this represents the power rating, both normal and when opponent is hurt, when the fighter is fatigued. So once Joe Frazier runs out of stamina, which he has good stamina, 90. That's pretty much as high as it goes. His power will drop to a 3 normally and a 6 if his opponent happens to be hurt for that segment. Norton goes to a 2 and a 5. So edge in power to Frazier. Chin, the Chin KD, the number on the left is their chin rating against a knockdown when they are fresh. Number on the right is their chin rating against a knockdown when they are fatigued. You see Frazier has a 2, Norton a 4, and then the number in parentheses if a knockout or knockdown chance is rolled by their opponent. If they get more than 2 but 5 or less, so 3, 4, and 5, he wouldn't go down, but he would be considered stunned for the next segment, which basically means his opponent gets to tee off and has a unopposed action against him. Norton tended to go down a little bit easier than Frazier. He is a 4 and a 7. So if there's a knockdown chance, 1 to 4, Norton goes down. 5, 6, or 7, he is stunned for the next segment. And then again, both of them, Joe Frazier's fatigue effect is a little bit greater than Norton's because it basically evens out the playing field. They both go to 5 and 9 when fatigued. And again, this has to do basically with their conditioning and how well they sustain themselves. When Frazier did get fatigued, he could go, but when he did get fatigued, he tended to be more susceptible to being hurt. Chin KO rating, basically as it sounds, is their chin check rating against a knockout. So if a fighter is knocked down, you will then go to their chin KO rating, and 2 or less, the fight would be over and Frazier would be knocked out. Kenny Norton has the same rating when he is fresh. They also both have the same chin knockout rating when they are fatigued. Will rating, that represents the ability to survive a TKO chance. So that comes into play if a fighter is hurt, if he's knocked down or stunned. The next segment, the fighter would still be considered hurt, and his opponent would have a free opportunity to basically tee off on him again, getting an unopposed action in terms of an offensive action, where there would be no defense, no counter shot chance if his opponent missed. So when a fighter is hurt, if their opponent lands 3 or more punches on them during the segment they are hurt, starts to become an accumulation of blows, and the referee will look to stop it. So when that happens, you would then roll the 1d20 and compare that to their will rating. And if they rolled their will rating or less, 5 or less for Norton and 3 or less for Frazier, they would consider basically the fight would be stopped via TKO as they were absorbing too much punishment. So that's how the will rating works. The cut rating, self-explanatory. Whenever a fighter's on the offense, if they roll a 19 or 20, it is a potential cut for their opponent. So the 1d20 that their opponent would roll would then determine whether or not they had been cut. So 5 or less, Frazier's cut or sustained swelling. 8 or less, Norton is cut or sustained swelling. And if you do roll using Frazier's card 5 or less, each fighter has their own fighter-specific cut and swelling card, which the 1d20 will tell you what the injury is and if it's a cut, swelling, or what type of cut. And both very similar here. Norton, slightly bigger chance to swell. Frazier is going to have a bloody nose slightly more often than Norton, but otherwise very comparable. So that's how that piece works. And then finally, the foul rating is the fighter's propensity to commit a foul. So when rolling the offensive result, if you roll a 95 to a 98 on a fighter's card, you get credit per punch landed. And you would then reference the 1d20 that you rolled with that offensive action against their foul rating. And if it was equal to or less, it would be considered a foul. You would then go to the fighter-specific foul chart, and it would tell you what type of foul occurred based on another 1d20 roll. As you can see, Frazier, not one to foul a lot. Norton, a little bit more likely to commit a foul. So that really kind of goes through all of the ratings. And then, of course, stamina rating, which we talked about, 90 for a 10-round fight for Frazier, 100 for 12 or 15, and 80, 90 for Norton. And Stamina is reduced every time an opponent lands a punch. So in those situations at the end of the round, what you will do is deduct the number of punches landed. Say Ken Norton lands 12 punches, you would deduct that from 90, and entering the next round, Joe Frazier's stamina would then be 78. And there are two ways to handle becoming fatigued. You can either start the fatigue effect at the beginning of the next round when a fighter loses their stamina, or for a little bit more realism, at the point during a round that a fighter's stamina is reduced to zero, you could apply the penalties at that point. And again, that's an optional rule, and however you want to play that. I usually just play that to start the next round. The fighter would be fatigued. So those are the ratings. Traits appear right above the offensive chart here. And traits are meant to capture subtleties or outliers with a fighter. Say a fighter has a really good chin that even though one is the best chin you can have, they're even better than that. Example, George Chuvalo. So in that case, he would have a trait that referenced or made him a little bit harder to knock out. In the case of Chuvalo, it's granite chin. So on Chuvalo's card, if he does get a knockdown chance, in other words, he'd roll a 1 when their opponent met his power rating, he would then roll another 1d20 roll after that. And on 1 to 14, the knockdown would not occur, and he would stay on his feet since he was never knocked off his feet in his career. So that's how traits work. And you can see in the case of Norton, Norton really doesn't have anything that stands out or needs an extra boost or is an extra detriment. So he has no traits. Joe Frazier, he is a mauler. He's a tough inside fighter, and you can even see in his ring general category, more likely to fight inside than out, where Norton's a little bit more balanced, 3-3 and 4-2 for Frazier. So because Frazier is a mauler, at the beginning of the fight, you would subtract 5, and this can be 5 or 10, depending on how much of a mauler. You would subtract 5 from his opponent's stamina to start the fight. So Norton would start this fight with a 75 stamina, and Frazier, because Norton has no traits, would basically play as reflected on his card. So moving down to the offensive category, whether the offensive action comes inside or outside, the 2d10 roll would tell you what exactly happened and a brief description of the punches landed. We're looking at Frazier's pummel to the head and body, 5 punches landed, blistering two-handed assault, 4 punches landed, etc. And again, I try to tie the wording in this category into the style or flavor of the fighter. Frazier more inside, so you're going to get more of an inside type description on his punches landed, digs a hook to the body, 2 punches land, etc. Norton more balanced. You can see his 2-punch description is snaps a jab followed by a cross, 2 punches landed, heavy rights and lefts, and a hook and 2 crosses land, 3 punches landed. And then in the case of his 5 punches landed category, a blistering two-handed assault. So that is the punches landed piece. And then the misses. When a fighter misses, you would then check their opponent's counter rating. So say Norton's on the inside, rolls a 64, he misses, and Frazier's on defense, you would then roll a 1d20 and check his counter category, and he would have a chance to land a counter shot in retaliation to that miss. And in the case of Frazier, big left hook on the inside, so the majority of his counter shots will come via the hook. Norton also a pretty decent counter puncher, not quite as heavy with the hook, so he'll get a couple of crosses in as well. And finally, we talked about the foul. The clinch category, clinch is more likely to occur on the inside due to the close proximity of the fighters. And when a clinch does occur, it nullifies all other actions in the round. So an example of that, they could be, say they have a toe-to-toe exchange. So Frazier goes first because he has momentum, which we'll show you when we do the little tutorial here. And he scores a potential knockdown. So normally when fighters go toe-to-toe, you resolve both punches landed, then come back and resolve knockdowns, cuts, fouls, etc. in order of the fighter that had momentum. So Frazier lands 3 punches. The 1d20 is a 4, so that's within his power range. So Norton would normally have to make a chin check for a knockdown. However, Norton, when he goes on the inside, he rolls an 86, which results in a clinch. And whenever a clinch occurs at any point during a round segment, it nullifies all other action that takes place in that round. So in the example here, Frazier would not get to the knockdown would not come to fruition. Basically, it would be like Frazier never got his punches off because Norton clinched him. It would be a 0-0 punches landed segment, and you would move on to the next segment. And then finally, the event chart. And the event chart, I will show you on the old prototype version. So when the event chart comes up on a roll of 99, you again roll the 2d10. And there are numerous rare events that can range from something as simple as fighters continue to brawl after the bell sounds, both giving warnings, or fighters engage in a vicious toe-to-toe exchange, 6 punches landed each. So those would be events that alter the normal action during that particular segment. In the case of the toe-to-toe exchange, basically a little bit more violent, more action than a normal toe-to-toe exchange. There are other events, however, and they would be followed by an asterisk, and these can only occur once in a fight. So anytime an asterisk event comes up, it is the only time an event can occur in the fight that is followed by an asterisk, even if it's 2 different events. So an example there, Frazier rolls an event, you roll a 2d10. Fighter scores 2 punches, thumbs opponent who can't block punches for the rest of the fight. And that is meant to simulate a thumb in the eye, greatly reducing his opponent's vision, so he's not going to see those punches coming, and he cannot block punches the rest of the fight. Now, because an asterisk follows this, there can be no other events for the remainder of the fight that are followed by an asterisk. So say later, 2 rounds later, a 0 is rolled on the event chart, which is the rarest of them all. Both fighters land simultaneous blows, 4 punches each, check both chin ratings for knockdown. So you have a potential double knockdown, which is extremely rare but has occurred. However, since we already had an asterisk occur on this thumb to the eye event, this event is nullified, so there would be no action. It would be basically considered a clinch, and you would move on to the next segment. Using that same example, where a fighter thumbs opponent who can't block punches, say 2 rounds later, you go to the event chart again, and you roll a 54. Fighter scores 2 punches, then showboats excessively, no action next segment. No asterisk by that, so that event will occur, and that event could occur multiple times. So that's kind of how the event chart works, and how I've separated the events to make sure that these really rare events, such as injuries or extreme situations like the double knockdown, or down here, the 99 on the wild event chart, wild brawl erupts between corners after current round, fight rule, no contest. Those can only occur, and obviously that's only going to occur once because that ends the fight, but that's going to be a situation where I kind of balance those to make sure you're not getting multiple, both fighters land a potential double knockdown, or fighter turns to complain to ref on break drop with a vicious hook, check KO rating, a la Jack Sharkey against Jack Dempsey. Those events just aren't going to occur very often. So for one, it's a smaller dice range or dice roll range to get them to occur, and 2, you are guaranteed that only one event that is rare is going to happen during any particular fight. So that's how that works. So that pretty much covers the basics of the game. Scoring is self-explanatory, blue and red corner. Timing, each segment of the round is considered 20 seconds. So a full round lasts 9 segments. So each 3 segments is a minute of the fight. And then there are other things on the chart, such as if there is multiple fouls, it tells you what happens. First low blow would be a warning, second warning, third a point, etc. And then also for potential cuts and swelling, first time it occurs, Basically no action on most things except a gash where there is a small chance for a stoppage the first time, and that rises each subsequent time that event occurs or injury occurs. Apart from that, everything else comes right here off the fighter's cards. You never have to go to a chart. The only other time you'll reference the chart is when you're scoring at the end of the round. And here's our base scoring system, which talks about the punch differential. And then you roll a 1d20 for each judge. And depending on the roll, it tells you who won the round, high, low, or whether it's even, and also what happens if a knockdown occurs. So that's pretty much it. Like I said, 95% of the action in this game is going to come right off these two fighter cards here, cuts, fouls, and everything. So that said, we will take a look at a quick segment. And this is going to be, again, Joe Frazier, Ken Norton, and we'll go through step by step. So the first thing you do is you establish who asserts the ring generalship in each segment of the round. So red 1, blue 6. You look at Frazier's card. He is inside and he has 2 stars on his ring general rating. Blue 6. Norton is inside. He also has 2 stars on his ring general rating. Because they are tied, the action is going to take place, a toe-to-toe exchange on the inside. Now, normally the fighter who had momentum, which I'll explain as we move on, would go first. This is the very first segment of the fight. They come out, meet in the center of the ring. They're going to go toe-to-toe. So the very first segment of the fight, the red corner, which is generally where you would put the favored fighter, will get the action to go first. So they'll both get an offensive roll, no defense at all in this segment because they're going toe-to-toe. So you roll the 2d10. Black die represents multiples of 10, so 60, 20, etc. White die represents multiples of 1, so as red. And then the 1d20 that you roll with the offensive action is meant to capture things like potential knockdown and also potential cut. If it does not capture one of these things, you basically ignore it, with some exceptions, which we'll get to. A foul would be another example where you would check that or a cut. So Frazier will go first. And right off the bat, you see he has a potential to cut Norton with a 19. However, he rolls an 86. So going on the inside in 86 on Frazier's card is a clinch, no punches landed segment. So as we discussed, going over the different areas of the card, that segment ends and neither fighter is going to have an action. So Norton doesn't even get to roll his offensive action. And we are 20 seconds in onto segment 2. Again, you will roll the 2d6s, red 6, blue 5. Red 6, and inside 3 stars for Frazier. Now, again, the very top level fighters will have 3 stars in one of their ring general ratings. Other fighters will not. So you know right away when a 3-star comes up, unless he's fighting someone else at that level, such as Ali, Dempsey, Lewis, etc. The other fighter has no chance to be on anything but defense. And in this case, a blue 5, 1 star on the outside. So Joe Frazier basically takes control, gains momentum in the segment, and he is going to have an offensive action from the inside. And Norton will be on defense. So after Frazier rolls, Norton will make his defensive roll. So Frazier rolls a 37, and again, the 8, that has basically doesn't come into play at all. It's over his power rating, so just going to be normal punches landed. 37 on the inside. Withering blows in the pocket, 3 punches land. So Frazier gets 3 punches landed. Norton will now roll his defensive die, and he can block one of those punches on a roll of 1 to 4. On a roll of 5, he will add to the number of punches landed. So a 3, it's within his -1 range, so he's going to block one of those. So Frazier lands 2 punches. And segment ends. We move on to the third segment of the first round. And Joe Frazier, 2 punches landed to 0. Frazier has momentum coming into the segment because he won the last segment. And that's how the momentum feature works. So In the case of this segment, if they go toe-to-toe because Frazier had momentum coming in, he would do his offensive action first. If Norton had won the last segment and they rolled toe-to-toe, Norton would do his first, then Frazier. And that's how you resolve simultaneous things like knockdown. So in that case, if a knockdown does occur, the fighter with momentum, if they both have a chance to get it, the fighter with momentum would get first crack at it. And if his knockdown was successful, the other fighter would not have a knockdown chance. The only time a double knockdown will ever occur would be on that very rare event on the event chart. So red 4 is 2 stars on the outside. Blue 5 is 1 star on the outside. So now the action has shifted to the outside. Frazier takes it outside, which is rare for him. And again, he will be on offense, and Norton will be on defense. So he'll roll Frazier's die, and again, the red 8, or the 1d28, that's above his power rating, so no possible knockdown. A 0-4 on the outside is going to be a blistering 2-handed assault, 4 punches landed. So you would adjust Frazier's punches up to 6. Norton would then take his defensive roll, and a 12, no effect, so he takes all 4 punches. And we move on to the next segment. So we're now in the second minute of the first round. And again, as you get through, or as you get the game and you just go through these segments, it goes rather quickly. And I'll do the last segment in real time, which will allow you to get a full 10-round fight in about 35, 40 minutes. And of course, if it ends sooner, a lot quicker. If you watched the fight yesterday, Schmeling and Lewis, that actual fight action was about 2-3 minutes. So on to segment 4. Red 5, blue 6. So red 5 is 1 star inside for Frazier. Blue 6 is 2 stars inside for Norton. So now Norton has asserted his ring generalship, and he is going to get the offensive action, and Frazier will be on defense. So Norton's roll, 37 and an 18, no cut, no pop, potential knockdown. 37 on the inside is a hook and 2 crosses, 3 punches land. Frazier then does his defensive roll. He rolls a 7, and you see Frazier's defense not quite as good as Norton's, and 7 is going to be above that, so he's going to take all 3 punches. Move on to the next segment. And red 4, blue 2. So 2 stars outside for Frazier, 2 stars outside for Norton. So now they're going to exchange punches again, and because Norton entered the segment with momentum, he will resolve his offensive action first. No defensive actions here. Blue 1d29, no knockdown. So 21 from the outside, and that is going to be a hook and 2 crosses again. So 3 more punches land for Norton. Puts his punch total at 6. Now Frazier gets to resolve his offensive action. And Frazier, 0-1, he's going to turn it up here, pummels the head and body. He's going to land 5 punches, so puts his punch total up to 11. So an exciting offensive segment there as they exchange blows. And on to segment 6 of the first round. So this will be the last slow speed walkthrough. So red 1 is inside 2 stars. Blue 3 is inside 2 stars. Now, Frazier landed more punches in that last segment, so it's toe-to-toe exchange again, but this time Frazier goes first. And 61 on the inside, that is going to be a miss for Frazier, and it would have been a potential knockdown had he landed, but because he misses, no effect there, and we go on to Norton, who gets his shot. And Norton, 56 from the inside, he misses as well. So that segment ends with no punches landed. We're heading into the final minute of the round. And what I want to do now is we've gone through 6 segments of the first round, basically walking through it step by step. I'll play the last minute of the first round basically as I would in normal game speed. So here we go. Segment number 7. And that is going to be 2 stars on the inside. Frazier has offensive control. Norton will be on the defense. Frazier would have been a potential cut, and 55 is he digs a hook to the body. 2 punches land. So Norton now has to make a cut check, and he has a cut rating of 8. 7, Norton's going to be cut, or swelling will start to occur. And 15, going to the fighter-specific cut chart, that is a gash over Norton's left eye. Now, when a gash occurs, there is a 1 to 4 chance that the fight will be stopped, and it is not, so fight goes on. We move on to segment 8, and that's basically how it's going to go full speed. Segment 8, and it's going to be inside 2 stars to outside 2 stars. They're going to go toe-to-toe on the inside. Frazier will go first because he has momentum. And 00, another potential cut, will resolve that after. Pummels the head and body, that's going to be 5 punches landed. Norton gets his shot now. And 38, also on the inside, that's going to be a hook and 2 crosses for 3 punches land. So now we're going to resolve the cut. Now, hey, what's up, Al, Red Sox fan? I just had a request to do a slower step-by-step walkthrough tutorial, if you will, of Glory Days Boxing. So earlier in this video, I brought out the new charts and showed the difference between the new charts and the old charts. This is the new chart here on a 130-pound cardstock, so a lot more durable, and the printers did a good job making the newsprint pop. And then our tutorial is going to be also showed off the official chart, referees and judges here that you can use. And our tutorial by request was Ken Norton and Joe Frazier. So now resolving the cut. Once there is an existing cut, you will roll the 1d20 twice. 1 to see if that cut reoccurs, so 10 or less, and 5. So that gash above Norton's right eye has reoccurred. Now what happens there is it increases the chances for a stoppage, and I'll show you here. Second time that occurs, it's a 1 to 10 chance to stop the fight. And it has been a long time and tested since I had a fight stopped on cuts, 10 or less. And again, they're going to let it go. So Norton is bleeding profusely as we head into the final segment of the first round. And double 5s, and it's going to be 1 star inside against 1 star outside. So again, they're going to exchange blows on the inside. Frazier goes first, and possible knockdown. 0-6, and that's going to be a blistering 2-handed assault, 4 punches landed. We'll resolve knockdowns again after the fact. Norton, 47, snaps a jab followed by a cross. He has a potential knockdown as well, so things heating up at the end of this first round. First, we'll resolve the knockdown on Norton. He needs a 4 or less to go down. Norton is down, and the count begins a 2 or less, and it's over. 19, he makes it to his feet as the fight, or as the bell rings to end the round. So Kenny Norton cut above the left eye, a severe gash in the first round, and down at the very end of the round. He survives, and he will be back to full strength for the second round. But that basically is a tutorial of a 1-round walkthrough. And again, I played that last minute normal speed so you can see how the game flows. So what happens now that the round is over, you would resolve the scoring. And I'll just bring the second chart out here so you can see the scoring. So the final punch is landed. First thing you will do is do fatigue adjustments. So you see Frazier landed 22 punches in a very exciting first round, and Norton landed 11, so Smoking Joe. And you're right, Al, Norton, you can see on Norton's card, you can see here his chin rating, really comparable to Frazier. Frazier has higher ring generalship, so is a higher rated fighter. But you can see here, their KO rating is the same at 2, but Norton goes down a little bit easier, actually twice as easy as Frazier, 2 for a knockdown versus a 4, and that is that big puncher curse indeed, so it caught him here. So first thing you'll do, I would deduct 22 from Norton's stamina. That was a rough round on him. And again, remember, because of Joe Frazier's Mauler trait, his stamina was at 75 to start the fight, so it would go down to 53, takes a huge hit. And then Frazier's would go from 90 to 79, and that would be the beginning of round 2. So now you have stamina adjusted. You would roll the 1d20 3 times to get the judges scoring, and the punch differential is 11, so you'd find that would be in the 9 to 12 range. So basically, that if the knockdown had not occurred, that round would have almost always gone to Joe Frazier, except for a roll of 20 if you had Adelaide Bird judging, and she totally missed it. So a 9 to 12 point punch differential is going to go to the high score 95% of the time. But we had the knockdown occur. So what you will do there is go over to the knockdown chart. And the first number, not in parentheses, is the score if the fighter scoring the most punches scored the knockdown, which is the case here. So that would be an automatic 10-8 round for Joe Frazier on all three cards. If Norton, despite getting his butt kicked in that round, had somehow managed to score that knockdown right at the end, he would have gotten a 10-9 round. Again, it would normally have been a big 10-9 round for Frazier, but that knockdown sways it to 10-9 for Norton. And if the punch differential is 8 or less, no matter high or low score, it would be a 10-8 round either way. So that is a one-round, very slow step-by-step tutorial of Glory Days Boxing. And again, all cards are back from the printers. I have 20 game units ready to go, 20 game units for both cards and charts. The dice and tokens to do the scoring and timekeeping have been ordered, as well as the boxes. So once they are here, I'm going to put them together and we will release this bad boy. So again, very happy with the job the printers did. And you're still there, Al. You can see the new, more heavy-duty game chart compared to the old one. The old one is on 110 cardstock, flimsy. This is on 130 cardstock, and a lot stouter. And again, they did a great job getting that newsprint to pop on that, which I really like. So one other thing I had to mention is we did have misprints here. So I'm going to do something fun, basically just for the first 20 orders that we fulfill. So we had misprints that the printers have fixed now, and it was my fault. It's not like it's theirs, but a misprint on Ali's card. And you can see here, actually, I'll just do this, get these guys out of here. So on Ali's card, you can see in his ring general ratings, he has basically stars in every category. That, my friends, is incorrect. Even the greatest fighters should have at least one ring general check where there is a slash. So that was a misprint on Ali's card. So these cards have been replaced. The new card has a slash here on the inside on 2. So that was one misprint. So these cards basically are no bueno. And then the other misprint, which I showed when I revealed the cards, is Joe Louis. Here you can see his inside punch range goes from 45 to 48, and then his miss is 59 to 82. That's obviously wrong. The inside range should be 45 to 58, and then 59 to 82 misses. So that card has been fixed as well, and the correct cards for both Ali and Lewis are printed and here. And I guess I can show you. Joe Louis, where are you? Okay, so here's Joe Lewis's card. So you can see bad card, and then that's what the rating should have been, 45 to 58. So that's fixed, but I have these extra cards, so what I thought would be fun, I guess, for the first 20 orders, we'll just go ahead and include, just as a kind of keepsake to show you one of the first 20 orders of the game, we will include a error card, initialed by me and signed 1 of 22 of 20, etc. on the back, just to show that you were one of the first 20 people that ordered the game as kind of a keepsake. So again, some people may find that cool, others I don't care, but I have to do something with the cards, so I think that would kind of be a cool way to commemorate who were the first people to order the game. So you will get a initialed or signed, again, 1 of 22, of 23, of 20, etc. Error card of Ali and Lewis, indicating Ali or Lewis, I'm sorry, indicating that you were one of the first to order the game. So that's pretty much it. And Al, game looks wonderful, and I know the gameplay is great. Thanks again. Oh, absolutely. And Al, a big shout out to you. Appreciate it. And guys, check out Al's channel. Al, Red Sox fan, does a lot of great stuff. And actually, headed to watch that James Corbett, Carl the Truth Williamson fight, or Call the Truth Williams fight next. Al's doing a title bout to heavyweight tournaments. So excited to watch that, see how that comes out. Jim Corbett in his last outing in Al's tournament upset. Actually, no, that was Glory Days boxing. Never mind. Upset George Foreman. So yeah, anxious to see. Or did you actually, Al? Did you use Glory? No, you used title bout for that one for the tournament, correct? So yeah, I'm eager to see that. But Al has a lot of great stuff on his channel. Does Twilight Zone. What if replays of teams from different eras, and of course the chat with Al and friends, always an entertaining, fun watch. Happens at least once a week, sometimes 2 or 3 times. So definitely, and that was Glory Days Corbett upset for me, correct? So check out Al's channel, and again, the game is roughly about 2 weeks away at this point in time. So excited. Just waiting for the last of the components to get here so I can start assembling. And I really want to thank everyone who's offered feedback and posted in the Delphi forums under Joe Bryan's forum for Payoff Pitch as well, and sent messages. The interest really is really surpassed what I had imagined. So I'm very excited about that and want to thank everyone for their interest in the game. I already told the printers I'll probably have to order second set. Probably do it the same week we release it and order 40 copies this time, so double the order, because I think the first 20 copies are going to go pretty quick based on feedback and comments thus far, which again is extremely exciting. And again, thank you to everybody who's offered kind words for the project and compliments and has indicated they're going to buy it. I really do appreciate that. Again, this game started as just something I made because it was a game I wanted to play, and never going to make money off it. It's a labor of love, but to be able to share it with people and have people out there interested in having me share it with them is awesome, and I definitely appreciate that, and hope you enjoy it as much as I've enjoyed making it. So that's it. Our tutorial featuring Joe Frazier and Ken Norton. And again, that was by request, just to do a step-by-step slowdown of gameplay. We got to look at a wide variety of different scenarios in that tutorial, and I also went over the ratings and what each of the ratings mean and how to value a fighter. So that's going to be it. We will be back later this week. We still have the dream matchup coming, Muhammad Ali versus this guy, Teofilo Stevenson, in a fight that would have been a huge draw had they somehow pulled it off in the 70s. Never did happen due to politics and Stevenson's amateur status and he really didn't need to turn pro. He was a god in Cuba and got basically anything that he wanted there. He was a national hero. So there was really no reason for him to turn professional and venture outside of Cuba to fight if he would have even been able to get out of Cuba. So it was a fight many people wanted to see, and we're going to replay it with Glory Days Boxing, Muhammad Ali versus Teofilo Stevenson, and that will be coming up on the channel. So again, appreciate the support, and until next time, keep playing those games and keep rolling for the knockout, and we will see you all later. Thank you. And yeah, no, and I haven't quite left yet. That actually will be a great fight. I'm looking forward to it too, and I have not tested that fight at all. So the first time I do it live, I will be doing it from basically for the first time with everyone watching. So excited for that. But anyway, peace, my friend. Have a good night, and we will see you.